what you were talking about as far as Dr. King and his actions in his early career, and how later on he came to see that some of the things, he regretted some of the things that went on. First of all, just dealing with Dr. King, since we're in January and Dr. King's birthday, his I think it's his 77th birthday, if I'm correct. He would have been 77 on January 15th. Most of the people don't even deal with Dr. King, the real Dr. King. Mm-hmm. This nation has hijacked Dr. King's memory and his image. And what they do with Dr. King is they trap him. And they trap him. They don't deal with Dr. King in his totality. They trap him into an August 28th, 1963 speech that he made at the so-called March on Washington, where he talks about, I have a dream that little black boys and white girls and things like that, that one day we'll all be together. But Dr. King didn't die on he didn't die on August 28th, 1963. He lived for another 5 years. Dr. King died on April 4th, 1968. And in those years between 1963 and 1968, Dr. King became very critical, of the government. He became very critical of even some of his, colleagues that he had worked with, who he felt were allowing themselves to be chained or controlled by funding, by the government and by other private sources. Dr. King was vilified by a lot of these people who say that they love Dr. King. He was vilified by a lot of them. The SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference that he was in charge of, that he was, that he was using to fight to try to bring rights to particularly black people, had begun to go bankrupt because a lot of people were pulling funding away from Dr. King because he came out against the Vietnam War. Yes. He came out against the Lyndon Johnson, the presidential administration of his time, because he felt that they were spending billions of dollars to fight a war that we shouldn't be in, and instead of using that money to make home better. To guarantee people jobs and guarantee people health care and things like that. So I just wanted to say, that's one thing I just wanted to say about Dr. King because we talked about him. The other thing I wanted to say, is that America, right, even now, you talk about integration. America's not integrated. Well, America's not integrated at all. You have the Italians, they have their little Italys, and you have the Koreans, they have their little Koreas, and you have your Chinatowns, and you have your Jewish enclaves where they own and operate, and that whole sector where they're living, they own it, they operate it, they live there, and nobody else lives there. You have, your Spanish Harlems, the only people. So no, there is no real integration. There's a whole lot of separation and division in America. The problem is with black people in particular, is black people haven't learned how to own and operate their own so that they can survive in an environment that is so divided and conquered. Because we haven't learned how to unite amongst ourselves and own and operate our own communities and the stores and the businesses and things like that. We are at the mercy of almost everybody else in this nation. We don't have our own food. We don't have our own places to create clothing, to create our food. We don't even own the buildings that we're in too many times. And even when we own the buildings, we don't own the land that the buildings is on. We don't even own our own minds to a large degree because we don't think for ourselves. We don't read. We don't study for ourselves. We don't question things and come up with our own conclusions on things. So in many regards, we don't even own our own minds. So, I just wanted to throw that out there as far as integration. I would love to live in a society where everybody was just trying to be Americans, but they're not. Everybody else, they're trying to be Italian Americans, Jewish Americans, Korean Americans. They're trying to find a way to unite and compete for resources. We're the only ones that's standing out there that hasn't found it important enough to unite so that we won't be swallowed up by all of these other forces that are stronger than us because they have united and disciplined and organized themselves. So, you know, we have to learn how to do that. We have to find it important enough to do that. And until we find it important enough to do that, we're not going to get our fair share. So I just those are some of the leftovers.
I think this goes to the core of the whole situation, and I'm going to read it. Rarely do we find men who willingly engage in hard, solid thinking. There is an almost universal quest for easy answers and half-baked solutions. Nothing pains some people more than having to think.
Wow.
Martin Luther King.
That's deep. That's deep. Yeah.
That's deep. This is why I keep emphasizing the mind, power, consciousness, because this is all, everything that's going on is mind control. And if you don't control your subconscious mind, somebody else will.
That's right.
And this is what he's speaking of. We're waiting for somebody else to fix it.
That's right.
Someone to save us, someone. We have the power to do it. We have to take back our minds.
That's right.
And that's the problem. We can go back to history, the Black King, none of that going to serve us if we don't understand our minds. And most people do not. And once I teach people the levels of mind and how the subconscious mind, people have been able to heal their diabetes, their cancer, their migraine headaches. They did this from within the mind. You know, people who couldn't find a job, when I taught them how the subconscious mind works and how to visualize and claim what you want, they got a job. You know, it's all mind. So that's why in my early path, I wasn't led to find, you know, to do all this Black history search and who did what. My thing is, I needed to know who I was spiritually and how my mind worked. And if I have this power, I need to know how to tap into it to use it. So I don't have to be at the mercy of anybody. I was down there at 9/11. I watched people tearing up cellular phones. They thought that was the end of their life. They thought that was the end. They panicked. I was so calm, I wound up counseling people in the street and on the bus. And I have a person that was with me can testify this, because I told people 6 years before it happened that it was going to happen. That's how powerful the mind is. We have a sixth sense. Some people call it intuition, but nobody teaches people how to tap into that. We already have it. Just like when I teach young people, right brain, they said, what is that? I said, that's where all the creativity is. You know, I never went to a fashion institute to learn how to design and make clothes. And I've been designing and making clothes for over 30 years. And I made plenty of money. Self-taught. I just tapped in what was already there. We already have it. And this is what's like in right brain. What is that? I do a seminar at the Halfway House in Connecticut. Most of the guys there, incarcerated, is Blacks. And they all told me, I said, how many of you know yourself? You know, men, ego. Oh yeah, I know, you know, I'm street smart and all of that. I said, well, if you're so smart, tell me 3 levels of your mind and how they work. The whole room was silence. They have no idea. And this is what I keep telling people. Your mind is creating your reality, not those politicians. It's because we believe what they are saying and we buy into it. So we're giving it life. We making it real. You know, I don't vote with the consciousness, whoever I vote for is going to make my life better, do the right thing. When I go and vote, I vote in the consciousness, God is going to make things right.